This is Phil Hotchkiss, and I'm here now with Warren Ringham, the manager and musical director of the Cue the Music show, the world's first James Bond tribute band. Warren's taken on the job of arranging and directing other musicians to perform all the James Bond themes at various shows around the country and in other countries in Europe as well. And here he is. Thanks for joining us, Warren.
Hi Philip, thank you very much for having me on.
I understand that you've been the manager and the band leader of Cue the Music show, an ensemble performing James Bond music and themes for the last 11 years. Can you tell us how you came to focus on Bond and form the band?
Yeah, sure. Well, basically, I've run function bands for well over that time, probably 16 or 17 years since I was at music college. And from doing functions and weddings and parties and corporate events, I just came up with the idea of forming a James Bond tribute band. Nobody had ever done it before. And I thought, why hasn't this been done? Because it's such great music that people really love. And there was enough of it, even at that time, 11 years ago, to form a show, or certainly a decent set list. So I set about putting together hand-picking musicians that I thought would work really well for the group. And it took me about 2 years to arrange the music originally, although even now, I still find little things that I have missed or that I want to add in to make it better. But right from the word go, it was always going to be as big a band as I could make it, whilst trying to take it to a small event. So we're not trying to be an orchestra, although people always say that we've done a really good job of recreating the orchestral sound. But it was trying to take that large ensemble music and provide it in a small setting, so we could do quite a few things like birthdays and even James Bond themed weddings. But the main thing that we do is corporate events all over the world, really. And then in the last couple of years, we've incorporated it into a theatre show where we do a chronological performance of all the music from Dr. No right through to, well, it was Skyfall, but it will be Spectre from now on as well, with writings on the wall. Sorry, and yeah, that's sort of how we got to where we are today.
So you've already got writing on the wall licked, as it were, and you've orchestrated it or arranged it for your band already, have you?
Yeah, we're doing our first performance of that on Sunday. We're playing on Sunday. We're playing at a really big event at the Pinewood Hotel for pretty much all the major James Bond fan clubs from around the world. There's people there from Brazil, from the US, from France, Germany, Holland, Sweden, UK, of course. Everyone on the first couple of pages of Google, if you put in James Bond or James Bond fan clubs, they're going to be there. So it's a really big event, and yeah, that'll be the first time that we do writings on the wall, so it should be an interesting night for sure.
I should just say that this interview is being pre-recorded prior to your big concert on Sunday the 25th of October, which of course is the eve of the UK release of Skyfall, isn't it? On the Monday.
That's right. Well, that's why they're there, because they've all gathered for the premiere or to be in London for the premiere. So they're all gathering at this party on Sunday. We were invited to play, and it's an extremely exciting opportunity for us. I've been just crazy excited about it for months, because when I set up the show, it was very much as a James Bond fan. I mean, I'm a huge James Bond fan and a fan of the music. Mm-hmm. So when I set it up, it was always to win the appreciation of other fans like myself, and it was created for fans, and it would be a really great chance for us to kind of take it to that audience, that will really appreciate it. You call us a band, and obviously we call ourselves a James Bond tribute band, but I would say that we are more of a show. But it's probably a little bit misleading, because when you say tribute, you think of like a Tina Turner tribute actor who dresses up like Tina and looks like Tina and sounds like Tina, and you get the whole thing. And you're not going to come and see a show with us and see people dressed up like Shirley Bassey and Tom Jones, and you couldn't do it. And I think if you did, it would look very cheesy and strange.
Well, I think it would also cheapen the quite forensic musical work that you've put in the background, to create the show and to get it meticulous like you have, really.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think in the end, what it becomes is a tribute to the genre of James Bond. And when you sort of go through the show, we put little things with little twists, and the way the vocalists perform, they do it in the style of Shirley Bassey or Tom Jones and stuff, but it's not it's not done in a sort of cheesy, over the top way. It's just subtle, and I think people really appreciate it. Certainly, the feedback we get is always really good.
Yeah, I will say though that the vocalist that you have doing From Russia with Love, he's got that kind of mellow Matt Monro kind of sound, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really good example of how we pay tribute to the singer in our own way. For example, one of the things that the singer Matt, who's the singer in my band, that we discuss quite often, is that Matt Monro has this incredible knack of singing these very long phrases without taking a breath, and it's, from a singer's point of view, the technique, it's actually really quite difficult to do.
Yeah.
And that's what Matt Monro is so well known for.
Yes, he hits all those really long notes. But the second part of it is he makes it look so effortless as well.
Yeah, well, I always say that a brilliant musician will sing something difficult and you'll know it's difficult, whereas a world-class musician will perform something that's really difficult and you won't know it's really difficult.
Well, if I can come on to the actual music that you're heavily involved with, you have to be quite forensic in your analysis and in your reorchestrations of the iconic themes. People would tell me, or the research told me, that the reason why people like ABBA songs, for example, is that they have certain cadences that are pleasing to the ear. And so I was just wondering, having taken on the challenge of arranging all the music from Dr. No in 1962 right up to Spectre in 2015, what would you say are some of the indispensable elements of any good Bond theme or song? You know, what do they have to have, or what are the public expecting from a James Bond song, would you say?
Well, I'm not really sure that there is an absolute set formula anymore. I think the best songs have got certain things, i.e. the best songs have usually got a very powerful singer. They usually have, they like to have a little bit of the quote of the James Bond theme, be it even just a motif from it.
It's usually just the chromatic ascending or descending figure, isn't it? Yeah.
That's right, yeah. I wasn't going to go that technical, but yeah, that's
Sorry.
Right. No, because I don't know how many of your listeners would understand what I'm saying, and then equally there are people probably out there thinking, "No, you're patronising me." But
yeah,
I think that's the thing, that you do get such a cross section of people that listen to the music, and some people really understand the ins and outs of what's being written, and some people just enjoy the sound that they're listening to. But I think in recent years, if you kind of look at some of the more recent hits, like You Know My Name, that's probably a little bit out of left field for a James Bond song. I mean, when it first came out, I think a few people were like, what's that? For a James Bond song. But it actually proved to be a really popular song. But then you had like Skyfall, which of course won an Oscar and is arguably certainly one of the most successful songs of James Bond songs of the franchise. And they did little things in there which have, very obviously quoting bits of that chromatic line that you're talking about. Yeah. But even the ninth chord, sorry.
The ninth,
which is quite prevalent in Barry's early scores, be it either the minor 9 or the major minor 9 chord. That they're both kind of there from those early sets of films that you can hear that in Skyfall.
Yeah, so someone like you, one of the composers before the music gets to you, is aware of all those kind of key elements as well and thinks, right, we need to put them in, otherwise Warren's going to be on our back saying, you call that a James Bond song?
I doubt that, but that would be lovely to think so.
Yeah.
But I see that's one thing that I think that Writings on the Wall could have had a little bit more of is, just for example, the last chord of Writings on the Wall. I've sort of posted on Facebook and social media about this, that if it had been a little more typical Bond, they would have coloured that chord a little bit more. Yeah. If I just kind of put it a little bit more in basic terms so that everybody that's listening understands it a little bit more, that last chord is very open in the way that they've harmonised it. It's essentially just in a fifth.
Yeah.
So there's only 2 notes in the chord, whereas most of the other Bond songs would choose to have something a little bit more colourful in terms of the chord at the end there. And I think that's a classic example of where something's been missed, where you go really classic Bond.
Okay, well, coming back to the themes themselves, as a child of the 80s, and obviously this is going out on only80s.co.uk, my favourite Bond theme is Duran Duran's A View to a Kill. But which of your own arrangements are you personally most proud of or most satisfied with, and why?
Do you know, it's not something that I ever think about. So I'm very proud of all the scores that I've done just because of the result that I think has come from it has just been so enjoyable from the last 11 years. But I think if I had to pick one song, and this would probably surprise people out there, but if you saw our show, I think you'd understand a little bit more. I think I'm most pleased with what we do with Another Way to Die, because it's not a song that's hugely popular, but what we do is we kind of put a little bit more of a swing to it. Now, when I say swing, people automatically think big band, kind of 40s era and everything else, and I don't mean it in that way.
Okay.
Because we very much play it in a sort of really heavy rock way. But the way that the rhythm of the piece is done on the original, it's quite straight-laced, the way that they've performed it. Mm-hmm. And just a little bit of a lilt on the way that we play it, I think it just changes it. We always try to honour the originals as much as we can, and I think anyone that's come and seen the show is always very complimentary of that. So it's only a very subtle difference, and I don't think you'd automatically go, "Oh, I see what they've done there." In fact, you wouldn't. But I think that little difference is just makes it a bit more exciting to play live, and I think it's probably a little bit more exciting to listen to for the audience coming to our shows.
Okay, so you're treading a fine line in one sense, because whilst you're obviously chronologically playing all the themes, you also want to offer something new, as if to say, look, you want your own little signature, as it were, I suppose.
Oh no, I tell you what, Philip, we really don't, and I'm not shy in sort of saying that. I mean,
okay.
We are honouring the originals 100% of the time. That's probably the only little bit that we just it's only so subtle, and you wouldn't notice it. You wouldn't listen to it and go, I see what they've done there. It's only a very small thing. But no, I think when you're a tribute band, you've got to be really, people come and they want to see the Bond themes. They want to see them how they know them. If we started doing our twist on it, I think people would probably walk out.
Well, you've been successful so far, so you're obviously on to a winner. But it kind of informs my next question, really, which moves on in the same way to what you do and what public tastes are. I mean, do you see your mission, or have you accepted the mission, as it were, to show people just how great these are? Because everyone's got their own favourite Bond theme, and maybe there's other themes there that they'll sit through and listen to and think, well, I'm only waiting for X, which is my favourite theme. But are you there sort of to say, well, no, hang on, listen to this. This is great as well, Do you see that as a mission of yours?
Definitely, but I would never say that we're trying to be better than the originals or anything like that. That's not what it's about. You can't improve on perfection, which is what it is in my eyes. These songs are just fantastic and timeless. But if along the way during the show, if we can reintroduce or introduce people to other songs that they maybe not considered, then that's great. That's just an added bonus for me. Just kind of taking the Bond music and being an ambassador for it, really.
Yeah, bringing it more up to date. Thomas Newman, the composer of the score for Skyfall in 2012, and now the Spectre composer in 2015, said in a recent interview that music scores should underline the immersive experience of the film, and that the themes shouldn't be too noticeable. What are your views on that, given that, as we've discussed, what you do is you present the music as valid in its own right rather than as a mere accompaniment to the action?
Well, this is a really funny point that you bring up, because there's some heavy debate that goes on social media with this that I'm very vocal about. Anybody listening that listens to that's part of that James Bond music page will know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
There's probably about 2,500 sort of really dedicated James Bond music fans like myself that we all debate about it on social media, and it's a real split between Newman fans and not so much fans. I mean, I think Thomas Newman is a very talented composer, and I do like what he does with Skyfall. I haven't heard the Spectre soundtrack apart from a few clips, but for me, what he does with his James Bond scores isn't really in the vein of a James Bond score, in my opinion. Now, there are people out there that probably will I know will disagree with me, and there are people that think that the scores are great. But from my opinion, a James Bond score, what John Barry was fantastic at is that he wrote themes that you would remember, and not only that you would sort of go away from a film sort of humming and remembering, but also if you took off the screen what's going on with the action and just had the music, quite a lot of the time your imagination would be taken almost to exactly what you were seeing on screen. For example, if you were underwater or if you were in space, John Barry's music was so instantly recognisable as underwater music or space music that, you know, that's what really gave it that's what gave him his name, I think.
Yeah, it
you
was
know,
cinematic in the sense that you could imagine the action even if you couldn't see it. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, and I mean, you could listen to John Barry's music, and it would be a concert just on its own. That you don't need the film for it still to be fantastic. And Thomas Newman's philosophy is from that interview, as you probably seen, is that he's much more of the opinion that you shouldn't really be able to remember it, or it should just be there, and it's not necessarily intrusive. Now, I understand what he's saying with that, and it shouldn't detract from the film, but I think it should complement it. And I also think that you should, I think you should be aware of it in a James Bond film. It should definitely be a big part of the film. You know, I mean, what Thomas Newman does is very atmospheric. You know, it's very rhythmical, but it's very forgettable, instantly forgettable. And I think that's his aim. I think he wants to write music that is kind of creates an atmosphere at the time that you're watching it, and the minute that you've watched that scene, you've forgotten it. And for me, that's just not what a James Bond score is.
Okay, well, no, that's really interesting. And I didn't realise there was this split amongst fans. You know,
it's vicious, the debate on the, you know, I mean, it's really, everyone's so strong in their opinions, and I'd like to see David Arnold come back. I really would, because I think he did a really fantastic job, and I think his scores really paid tribute to John Barry and that style and genre.
As I mentioned at the start of this interview, you've been at the helm of the Cue the Music show for 11 years, and so from the public's response to your shows, would you say that Bond themes are as popular as they've always been, or can you see a time when you personally will be looking for a different challenge, or, you know, how what's the life in this? How long do you think it can go on for? Is it as long as they keep making James Bond films, or how do you see it moving forward?
Oh, do you know what? I really don't know. I mean, it's probably not so much the life in the music; it's probably the life in me. It's a really, really hard slog running such a big band with, you know, I mean, I'm an absolute stickler for detail. You know, I mean, we really do put in a lot of time and make sure that we deliver the same professional product every single time. I mean, for example, I insist that my band play to a click track. Now, everything we do is live, but because I want the songs to be exactly the right tempo every single time we play, the drummer has to play with a click in his ears. Now, you know, it means that you get a really, you know, a special performance every single time, because I wouldn't want the songs to be too quick or too slow, because people would immediately go, "Oh, View to a Kill was too quick" or whatever. So, but it's quite tiring to sort of do that and maintain those standards every single time. And we have a very, very large technical setup as well, with in-ear monitors and everything else. And it's a time-consuming thing. But in answer to your question, do I think that the music and the films and everything are as popular as ever? Absolutely. I mean, if anything, they're getting more popular. Skyfall was the highest grossing ever Bond film.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
And I think Spectre's going to beat that. I mean, it looks, I'm trying to avoid all the spoilers, but I've seen the trailers and heard the rumours, and it looks and sounds like it's going to be absolutely fantastic. So I think, if anything, Bond's popularity will just keep going and going. And, you know, as long as there's a demand for us to be there, and as long as I've got the energy, and I'm going to keep it going. And also, I think the other thing as well is that the main singer in the band, Kerry, it's her talent and my work ethic that is what makes Cue the Music, really. And whilst the two of us want to do it and we can keep it going, we'll keep going. But I think once either one of us or both of us get to the point where, you know, we want to have more spare time with our families and stuff, because it's a full-time job. Both of us are full-time musicians, and, you know, I have a busy musical life away from Cue the Music as well as
that was good. That was going to be my next question. I've read that you also run a London show band, is it, or a different kind of band anyway?
Yeah, it's a function band, like a wedding pop and soul band. But I'm also a professional trumpet player, so full time around the country, in the world, doing shows and concerts and rehearsing. So Cue the Music is a full on part-time job for me, but at times it feels like a full-time job. You know, even doing 2 shows a month, the preparation time that goes into it is really extensive. So it's full on.
You were saying earlier that you mainly do, with the Cue the Music show, you mainly do corporate events. Are there any other public events that you do that perhaps listeners might be able to get tickets for and go and see you? Or
Yeah,
not? Yeah.
we do the odd theatre show. We've got one coming up in Fleet in Hampshire on the 22nd of November.
Okay.
It's a little place called the Harlington, and that's on the 22nd of November. The next one after that will probably be middle of next year. Mm-hmm. We also are at Eastbourne again next year, I think. That's still to be confirmed, but we play on the Eastbourne bandstand every summer.
Okay.
But if people want to keep in touch, you can check us out on Facebook at Cue the Music Show, or our website, which is www.cuethemusicshow.com, or we're on Twitter as well at Cue the Music Show.
Okay, well, thanks very much. That's brilliant. I think we've got all the details we need to check you out. I will say this has been a great interview, and I'm actually interested now. I really want to go and see Spectre and listen to the music, and I'm going to keep watching your videos because the attention to detail is incredible. So, Warren Ringham, thanks very much indeed. And
Thank you.
Good luck with all your endeavours. Yeah, good luck with the show on the 25th of October.
Thank you very much, Philip, and yeah, all the best to you and your station, and thanks for having us on.
Thanks very much, Warren.
Cheers.
Bye now.